Okay, today we're looking at the small undercounter wine beverage cooler. And we've got a really hot compressor, so let's get this unit out and have a look at it. Okay, we got the unit out. Got the brand new Fieldpiece probe on there for this technician. He's looking at the pressure, static pressure on his app. Now let's start the unit up and see what our pressures are. We do have a hot compressor. Okay, I'm going to swap that compressor out. We got a new one sitting on standby, new filter, solder weld on deck. We're ready to go. Let's get that compressor sweated out. Okay, so we're going to get this suction line brazed out. Yeah, good job moving the heat around. Perfect. Get the discharge line out, and that is stainless steel to copper to the compressor. Good job. Okay, a little tip when you're prepping the compressors is to sand these process stubs before you pull your rubber plugs. See a lot of guys pull the rubber plugs and then sand. What you do then is you can introduce some sanding grit into the processing stubs. So strip your sandpaper fairly thin, and then you can just wrap it around and sand those without getting any grit inside the compressor or the chance of it. They're all prepped up, ready to go. Now when we get that in place, we'll just give them a quick little sand before we pull the plugs. Just, I mean, copper does oxidize over time, but normally it's not a big issue. But we'll just give them a quick little run over before we pull the plugs and get set up for our braze. A tip when you're pulling a compressor out, braze off your access ports. When you're done, crimp them off and braze them, and it'll stop the oil from leaking out if the compressor ever tips on its side in your van, or you're carrying the compressor. You're not going to take a chance of getting oil all over your clothes. We're in there with the solder weld 15% silver, putting that excess suction line on the compressor. Pull back your heat a little bit. There you go. Flows like butter. Okay, so we've got our pressure test in now. We're reading it on the Fieldpiece probe in the app. And we're at it's at about 9 minutes. And there's a little bit of fluctuation in the pressure, but it's very minute, and that could be just the temperature affecting that. So we should be great. Okay, so we got a vacuum on, pulling down, looking pretty good. One thing when you're working on multi-zone systems, you have a diverter valve for the refrigerant, and you need to make sure that you cycle both compartments so you're not trapping any non-condensables or anything in the other side of the valve. So on most models, you can go into the diagnostic mode and cycle that valve back and forth during the vacuum, and to be sure that you're pulling on both sides. Some three-way valves you can set at the home position, which automatically opens it up to both compartments. This one here, you have to manually cycle it from A and B. So we're just going to do that right now and finish off our evacuation. We're pulling down pretty deep. Okay, so we've been cycling the refrigerant valve back and forth and maintain their vacuum. And I was going to do a quick decay test, so we're going to isolate our system in from our vacuum pump. temperature arrive. And it's normal to see it go up a little bit, but you want it to not take off and skyrocket. If we were going up climbing a lot faster than that, over 1,000, then we're almost guaranteed we have a leak. But as you can see, it's just gradually going up. I think we're going to be fine with this evacuation. It's pretty well plateaued off. I don't like to see it go up much more than over 500. I'm content with that. Okay, we are isolated in. It is normal to see it rise. Let's get ready to put some refrigerant in the system. Okay, we're ready to recharge. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we have liquid in the line feeding the compressor. We're going to make sure there's no condensables. There we go. We'll just give it a little shot to make sure that that's the case. And then we're going to meter in our charge. And on this unit here, it's a fairly minimal charge. It's about 2.12 ounces. So it's pretty critical we get that exact amount in. It's easy to overcharge this unit. So we're just going to set our marker and let our gas fly. And that's it, our refrigerant's in. So now what we'll do is we're just going to let that sit for a while, make sure the compressor's warmed up, just to make sure any liquid is boiled off in the compressor. It's very critical that you just don't dump liquid straight on the compressor. You just want to meter it in very slowly. Give it a chance to boil off. Best case scenario is to charge by the high side, but on this unit here there's no access to the high side. There's no processing stub. It's an inline dryer filter, so we have to go liquid into the low side. But as long as the compressor's not running and you meter it in very slowly, you should be fine. And then always give it a few minutes to warm up and to boil off in the compressor. You don't want to wash the oil out of the compressor, and you don't want liquid being dumped on top. So just put it in nice and slowly and wait a little while, feel the compressor, and make sure it's warm before you start it up. Okay, so we let our pressure stabilize and we're looking pretty good. Don't really want to do too much with that. We're going to let it run a bit, monitor it, and see where we're going to be. Our target is probably around 0 psi on this unit. So we're half a psi out, but I don't want to play with that too much. So just going to let it run. We're going to have a look at the frost pattern. So when you can't get the back wall to look at the evaporator out easily without doing a bunch of work, these cable cameras come in handy. We can feed that down behind. We can have a look at the frost pattern on the evaporator. And this one here, it looks like we have a good frost pattern. So now we're just going to go down and check the lower evaporator, switch over the compartment, and check that. Okay, that's a wrap. She's back in the hole. It's cooling down fine. You get that flashing display, but that's just as it's cooling down until it reaches set temperature. We're out of here.